What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be breaking down some pretty interesting set photos for The Flash Season 9. And of course, guys, these set photos were provided by Canadagraph, so make sure you guys go in the description and check out all his stuff. And by the way, guys, these set photos here are from episode 10 of Season 9. So guys, in addition to set photos, we actually have a few descriptions from Canadagraphs of exactly what they were filming. So first of all, we have this scene here with Joe and Captain Singh. Now, from what Canadagraph said, he said that, there's a ton of things in this scene that, prove that this is going to be happening in the past, like the 90s or maybe even the 80s. As you can see, Captain Singh here, he's got a different haircut. Joe, he looks a little bit different. He's still, working at CCPD, so obviously this is going to be the past, which is going to be pretty interesting. Now, guys, there's something really interesting that happens. So basically, in this first scene here, Joe and Captain Singh are at a crime scene, right? And apparently, at this crime scene, Joe sees a crystal and picks up the crystal, and it apparently, according to Canadagraphs, looks a lot like the one from The Flash, or the end of The Flash Season 8. So, could that be the same blue crystal we see? I think that's definitely possible because, they gotta play that in Season 9 somehow, you'd think. So now let's say that this actually is going to be the blue crystal that we saw in The Flash Season 8 in this scene. How did it get in the 90s? What is it doing there? I have a theory about that I will talk about later in the video. So yeah, before we go over that any further, let's break down the rest of the new set photos for this new scene here. And that is actually with Henry and Nora Allen. Yes, of course, this is going to be the past. This is probably going to be the 90s. So yeah, Henry and Nora Allen are, they're obviously alive in the 90s. So I think that's very, very interesting. Now, what's also interesting is that Grant Gustin playing Barry Allen is also in the 90s. So I think this is obviously going to be time travel here. Now, Canadagraphs did say, a description of the scene that Barry Allen was like thrusted onto a car. Like that's how he, I guess, appears in the 90s. And obviously I'm going to assume that, he's in with the special effects. Obviously he's going to be coming out of a portal and then, hitting a car, which then leads to Henry and Nora Allen, checking up on him, as you can see right here. Henry is obviously a doctor, so he's able to, able to check Barry's vitals and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting when Barry wakes up and realizes that, oh, look, it's his parents, I think that's going to be pretty cool to see. Now, I'm also very curious to see if Barry's going to end up, telling his parents that, they're his parents. Maybe Nora will say something along the lines of, you look just like my father, just like she said in Season 1 when Barry went back in time to talk to her. I think that would be a pretty cool throwback. But yeah, I think, this is obviously going to be a very emotional scene for Barry. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what this is going to be about. Now guys, actually when I saw these set photos for the first time and didn't read any of the descriptions of it, I thought that Barry had somehow traveled into the Flashpoint timeline, which I guess that was a theory to start off. And this is because basically, obviously Barry's parents are alive. Captain Singh, he does kind of look like he did in Flashpoint. I believe he was actually a criminal in Flashpoint, and he kind of does look like that. Joe's still a cop, just like Flashpoint. So I thought Barry had somehow time traveled, or I guess timeline traveled into Flashpoint. So I think that would have been a pretty cool twist as well. But time traveling to the 90s should be really cool to see. Now guys, we actually have another confirmation of a returning actor, and that actor, surprisingly enough, is Rick Cosnett, who played Eddie Thawne. Now it's not confirmed that he's going to be playing Eddie Thawne here as well, but obviously he's going to be playing somebody. So I think that's really interesting. First of all, we already got the confirmation that there's going to be some type of crystal in the 90s that I'm going to assume is the same one from the end of the Flash Season 8's cliffhanger. And also we have Rick Cosnett, who everyone wants to play Cobalt Blue. So I don't know about you guys, but all of this to me is pointing towards Rick Cosnett, aka Eddie Thawne, being Cobalt Blue. Obviously, that's just a theory. Nothing is even close to confirmed about that. But if, this is all true, why is that crystal in the 90s? Why is Barry in the 90s? Why is, presumably Eddie Thawne in the 90s? Now, we obviously know how much Barry doesn't like to time travel just because, oh, we don't want to mess up the timeline, blah, blah, blah. So if he's time traveling to the 90s here, he has to be time traveling for a very important reason. And my theory is that Barry and Cobalt Blue are both going to be time traveling to chase this crystal. Now, my theory here is that this crystal can somehow displace itself throughout time, or maybe there was some temporal battle that made it get lost in time and it ended up in the 90s or something like that. For whatever reason, I believe Barry and Cobalt Blue are chasing this crystal just because maybe it's like a super powerful weapon. Maybe it's like the Green Lantern ring where Cobalt Blue is chasing it to be like a super powerful villain or something along those lines. I think could be pretty interesting. But other than that, I really have no idea what's going on. If that's not correct, I think that I will be very surprised no matter what happens here. Now guys, with all that said, we actually also got the episode title for episode 10, and it is called A New World Part 1. So what does that mean? I don't know. Maybe the events of season 9, or not season 9, but episode 9 rather, of the season maybe make a new timeline or something along those lines. I do think that A New World definitely refers to a new timeline, which would be pretty interesting. Now, if Rick Cosnet is here playing Eddie Thawne, maybe in this new timeline, Eddie never died. I think that could be pretty interesting, and that would be a way of bringing Cobalt Blue to life, you know, having Eddie Thawne be Cobalt Blue. Now, with that said, if Eddie Thawne never died, does that mean Reverse Flash is alive again? I think that's definitely possible. I've had this theory for a while of how Cobalt Blue could actually exist. Reverse Flash could travel back in time, you know, save Eddie Thawne from dying, and then, you know, turn him into Cobalt Blue somehow. I think that is definitely possible, and I think if they do that, I think that would definitely make sense here. But then obviously you need to bring Reverse Flash into the whole equation before, you know, this presumable new world or new timeline. So that's going to be very interesting to see what all of this means. And yeah, if episode 10 is going to be titled A New World Part 1, I'm going to assume that episode 11 is going to be titled A New World Part 2. And usually with like the parts that the Flash does now, Eric Wallace usually doesn't go beyond Part 2. So I'm going to assume that this might be the end of whatever A New World, that storyline, whatever that means. So then the final 3 episodes, it's looking like, might be like the final storyline for the Flash. So that's going to be amazing to see. But yeah, just to sum up everything I've said so far, we got a look at Joe West and Captain Singh, presumably in the 90s, doing some police case. And Joe finds a crystal that looks a lot like the one in the Flash Season 8's finale, which I think hopefully it is. And then, you know, we see Barry time travel back to the 90s as well, where he gets hit by a car, and Henry Allen and Nora Allen check up on him. Obviously, his parents, they don't know that, which is going to be really interesting to see what all happens there. And then from that, it's confirmed that Rick Cosnet was playing somebody in this episode. Hopefully it was Cobalt Blue. I think that'd be amazing to see. And then, you know, all of them, I believe at least, Barry and Cobalt Blue are chasing this crystal, which for some reason ended up in the 90s. And I think that's the whole reason that Barry is time traveling in the 90s. And I'm hoping Eddie Thawne's going to be playing Cobalt Blue. And I'm hoping he's also time traveling in the 90s to try and get this crystal, which I think would be a really cool storyline. But obviously that's not what's going to be happening. That's just my theory. So if you guys have any other theories, make sure you comment them down below. But anyways, I'd say that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment your thoughts on this video down below, as well as your thoughts on, you know, the set photos. What do you guys think's really going on? I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.